I am back with another video. It's been a month since I've been doing the video. I've been trying to do this video a few times, but things hasn't been coming out there. But I hope this will really work here. So basically, I've been doing some USL League 2 matches, which is very good. You'll get a chance to see them on Sports Engine Play. But today, we're going to be talking about, the changes of sports talk radio, because if you have heard of what's going on, so Rogers has announced that they're going to be shutting down its Sportsnet station in both Vancouver and in Calgary, along with 4 other nations. And this company has the station closures with the result in 80 employees losing their jobs. Those are among the 230 total jobs that has been in loss. The total losses has been dealt with at the Rogers and Sports Media from those, and other organizational changes have been announced. Now, Rogers will conclude and own 44 radio stations in nearly 30 communities that will invest in local news and impact markets. And they will also conclude broadcasting Vancouver Canuck game on one of its radio properties in that city, but will no longer produce Calgary Flames broadcasts for radio. And that is an absolute shame for those who are in Calgary, because sports talk radio has been, a blessing for everything that has been going on. And look, we go through a whole lot and just try to figure it out, like what could be the best. So I'm pretty sure that the Vancouver Canucks radio broadcast, as well as the Calgary Flame broadcast, will hopefully try to resolve those problems here. But here is the question that I wanted to ask everybody here. And the question is, have sports talk has evolved? And the question is yes, because sports talk has evolved dramatically, and audio platform has become one of the biggest drivers. And digital audio podcast platforms aren't just the key, they are officially taking the throne. So for decades, traditional AM and FM sports radio have dominated the landscape with a specific formula: localized coverage, program commercial blocks, and the classic hot take model designed to drive in phone-in call-ins. Now today, that linear structure has given way to an on-demand, highly decentralized ecosystem. And the thing is about it is that traditional sports radio isn't dead. It just no longer has the monopoly of sports conversations. Fans now can expect whatever they want, and it's not just during a scheduled radio show. There's podcasts, there's on-demand audio, live streaming, and social media, and it has changed on how the audiences consume in sports analysis. So a major tipping point has been occurred recently, is that podcasts officially surpassed traditional talk radio in the total share of spoken word audio listenership. And audio podcast forms are central because they allowed the long form that dive deeper than just a typical radio segment. You got niche coverage of specific leagues, teams, or sports that might not get the airtime on the traditional stations. And you have the direct relationship with the audiences without needing a radio affiliate, and the flexibility to let the listeners tune in during commutes, workouts, or whatever is convenient. Now, for someone who is in sports broadcasting like me, this means more than just a radio host. It's about developing skills in podcasting, live events, in broadcasting, video, and social media, and it can make you much more versatile. A strong sports broadcaster today can move seamlessly between calling a game, hosting a podcast, appearing in a live stream, and creating a short form of content. Now, the future isn't, radio versus podcast. It's about the audio first storytelling across all of the platforms. And the broadcasters who succeeded are the ones who can adapt their style to whatever the fans are listening. So the shift have come down to three major pillars. So number one is the death of the linear clock. And traditional audio requires a listener to tune in exactly when a show is broadcasting live. So podcasts and on-demand audio definitely flipped the script. And modern sports fans expected customization. They wanted post-game tactical breakdowns, off-season trade analysis, or initially coverage, which, like I mentioned, they exactly want to commute, work out, or prepare for their day. The second one is the athlete movement of mics on, filters off. And the tone of sports media have completed a massive transition from a corporate network mandated broadcasting to an unfiltered peer-to-peer dialogue. And you got shows like The New Heights with the Kelsey Brothers, the Pivot Podcast with Ryan Clark, or even 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony. And it has surpassed traditional journalism. Now fans get the insight from the locker room or the front office without the filter of standard PR, which establish a level of audience and trust that traditional media struggles to watch. And finally, let's not forget about the hyper niche customization. Now, on local sports stations, on Center's local sports stations, a host has to cover a big 3 to 4 local teams to maintain a broad appeal. Now, if you are deeply invested in a specific mid-tier soccer club, a women's sports leagues, or advanced analytics and technical film study, traditional radio doesn't have the airtime for you simply. But podcasting allows independent creators, in network affiliates to thrive by super serving those specific communities globally. Now, even traditional sports operations recognize this. Major stations are now heavily splicing their daily live broadcast into immediate podcast feeds or treating their on-air time as a feeder system for their digital video and audio brands. Authentic, personality-driven digital audio is the new North Star of sports media. And I will say, we have a sports station here in Detroit where I'm currently living. 97.1 The Ticket, shout out to them. And that's the way how things is definitely going to be. But if you are going to rebrand or at least build a new platform, I think the three keys to this is limit the guests, have them, but you are the driving force with personality. Drill down local, only talk about the local sports teams or the teams of importance. And you got the personality chemistry with the co-host, quick and unscripted banner. And I think these are the strong principles, especially if the goal is to build a loyal audience rather than to have sports shows. And I will definitely talk about this later on. But I think that in my mind, I think I could definitely lay out the exact blueprint for success in modern audio. And let's just say I want to call it the hyper local personality engine. There are too many sports shows that fall into a syndication trap. They're trying to talk about everything nationally, rely on boring guest interviews just to fill time, and end out sounding generic. But by reversing that, you have to build immediate loyalty. So here are a few thoughts about each point. So first one is that the host should be the star. And you need to keep the spotlight on you. You also have to limit the guests. Now, guests are often a crush. Now, unless you have an absolute A-list exclusive, most guest segments will follow a rigid, predictable Q&A format that definitely will kill the pacing of the show. Now, guests can add the value, but they shouldn't become the entirety of the show. Now, if listeners get to tune in because they want to enjoy your perspective, they'll keep coming back even when there isn't a big name guest. Now, in order to keep things minimal, you have to force the audience to tune in with your takes, your perspective, your brands, everything. You are the main event of this show. And when you're trying to bring a guest on, it actually feels like a major occasion. So next one I will suspect is own the local market. And like I said, drill down the local, because winning is an underdeserved market. Now, as national networks like ESPN and Fox Sports continuing to homogenize and cut the regional programming, there's a massive vacuum that has to be opened up. Now, fans don't want 20 minutes of generic NFL talk when their local team is in the middle of a massive front office shakeup or a critical tactical standpoint. National sports news is available everywhere. What often isn't is consistent. Knowledgeable coverage of local high schools, colleges, minor sports teams, and regional storylines. Becoming a trusted voice for a community can be a real differentiator. So by dedicating 100% of your real estate to local teams and storylines of a genuine regional importance, you have to become essential daily listening. And you're going to give a community a dedicated home that algorithm and national feeds cannot replicate. And finally, chemistry beats perfect. And I'm definitely talking about the co-host chemistry and the unscripted banter, and that is the locker room effect. Now, in digital audio, listener retention is entirely driven by relationship. Fans don't want to listen to sports talk for the raw data. They can get the stats on their phone in 2 seconds, and they listen because they want to feel like that they're sitting at a bar or hanging out with the locker room with friends. Great sports talk often sounds like a conversation because you get the quick and unscripted banter, you get the respectful disagreement, and genuine reactions that create moments that scripted segments rarely do. And when I meant by quick unscripted banter, it definitely creates an infection environment. And if the chemistry is organic, the audience feels like that they're part of an inside joke. And that is what transformed casual listeners into diehard subscribers. So this framework definitely gives a clear identity, a high structural agility, and the immense community definitely right out of the gate. Now, there's one thing that I want to add on, is that is the audience interaction that has become another key pillar, whatever if it's live calls, social media questions, polls, or voice messages. Fans can increasingly want to feel like that they want to be a part of the conversation. So my point is that towards a broader shift in sports media, it's personality over celebrity, community over national headlines, and authentic conversations over rigid formatting. That is the model that could work in radio, podcast, YouTube, or live streaming because it's built around giving the listeners a reason to choose your show instead of hearing the same mistakes over and over again elsewhere. Now, if you were to launch a brand or a project with this exact idea, what is the initial vibe and sonic identifier you want to have? Are we going to be talking about, talking gritty, analytical, fiercely loyal, or are you going to be comedic? So here's what I think that sports radio should have. You should forget about saying radio and call itself audio. And you got to keep AM and PM drive shows 3 hours each. You have to build the rest of the day around the leagues, the teams, the specific podcasts, only for like 1 hour at the max. And evening devoted to live shows and audio versions of, whatever sports that you guys have in your local community, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, hockey, everything. And I think that I'm describing something really closer than to just having the audio network than to have a traditional sports station. Now, that is a distinction that more broadcasters really need to embrace. This is a definitive structural blueprint for a modern sports audio network, and it acknowledges a harsh reality that traditional sports media companies are failed to realize that the 24-hour linear window grid is dead, but the daily sports routine is very much alive. And one day I'll probably propose this as an agile hybrid model, which keeps the highly lucrative, high energy bookends of the day while completely modernizing the middle of the evening blocks. And here's what I wanted to break down all of this. So the first one is sports audio 2.0. Stop calling it sports radio. Think of it as a sports audio network. The content lives everywhere. Live radio, podcast streaming, YouTube, smart speakers, mobile apps. The audience shouldn't care where they want to listen. I think dropping the word radio isn't about semantics. It's about changing the entire production philosophy. Radio implies of a physical tower, a strict geographical limit, and a dying demographic. Audio, however, means that you are platform agnostic. Whatever a fan consumes of your content via an AM dial on their truck, their app stream on their phone, or a downloaded podcast on their smartwatch, the content remains identical, and it forces the talent to build a brand, a digital first brand, and also management too. The second one is to preserve the drive time bookends. And I'm talking about keeping the AM and PM drive, and these remain appointment listening. So you got the morning and afternoon drive, typically between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. through 6 p.m. And there are the only times linear listening still holds about structural power. This is when the community is trapped in their cars, experiencing the same communal moments, reacting to last night's game on the way to work, or bringing down afternoon news on the way home. Now, for 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. morning drive, you get the overnight news, local reactions, limited interviews, personality-driven discussions, and commute-friendly pace. And while you got the afternoon drive, you get the breaking news, debates, listener interaction, game previews, and post-game and coaching quotes. And these are the flagship shows that definitely define the brand. Keeping these blocks at 3 hours preserves your major ad revenue engines and maintains that vital, high-energy, local town square feel to your main personalities. The next one is the midday pivot, the tight, focused module, which means you can fill the middle of the day with team-specific audio. Now, instead of forcing one host to talk about every sport, let the experts know their niche. Now, the standard midday block, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., is usually where traditional radio bleeds listeners. Hosts are forced to stretch thin-end topics across multiple hours just to fill in time. Here's my fix on this. Replace those with a slate of sharp 45 to 60-minute team or least specific podcast modules is brilliant. And the reason why it works is that it will respect the listener's time. But think about a diehard fan that could opt into a hard-hitting 45-minute tactical breakdown of a local team's power play over their lunch break rather than just sitting through 2 hours of genetic baseball talk hoping for an update. And this treats a midday content as an on-demand menu. Now, here's my example of the lineup. 10 a.m., you got Lions Hour. 11 a.m., Tigers Today. Noon, Red Wings Live. 1, Pistons Weekly, all that. Every show needs to have at least 45 to 60 minutes. Same host every day. Podcast immediately available when it airs, and it's no filler. And the fans only consume the teams that they really care about. Because, let's face it, this is where things could really take shape, and it will definitely go well if you can follow, what's going on with the shifts there. So it's all me. And last but not least, live action and surfing on the evenings. Now, nights it's not about live sports, but however, if there isn't a local game, you got, live whip around shows. The audio version of NFL Red Zone. You can have what's going on in the NBA, what's going on in MLB, what's going on in the NHL. You can have whip around shows in soccer. You can have golf coverage. You can have NASCAR race coverage. All that. And the thing is that nothing competes with live sports. If you don't have the live play-by-play rights to any given night, that's how you're going to get. But also, you can have, at least tracking live betting lines. You can have fantasy implications, late game drama across the country, and it transforms an evening audio from a static, boring tape, delays, replays, into an active, urgent, must-listen companion piece to whatever is happening on television. And this structure really trims the fat out of media broadcast day because it gives you the massive, broad reach presence of drive time, the surgical targeting of niche podcasts, and the high energy of live evening sports. Now, if a network executes this properly, then the local sales team could sell highly targeted ad inventory for midday podcasts along with a broad reach packages for drive shows. So the philosophy is that the biggest shift is moving on from what can we talk about from 24 hours to an audio to sport fans want to have in this moment, which means that the personality can have hot takes, personality over hot takes, local expertise over genetic national discussions, on-demand podcast for deep dives, and live event coverage at night instead of recycling debates. It's also a model that could realign with the modern listening habits because people increasingly expect to choose content that matches their interests while they are enjoying marquee live shows during the morning and afternoon commute. And this feels like reinventing sports radio and more like repositioning it as a 24/7 sports audio platform where live programming, podcasts, and game coverage all exist under one brand rather than just have separate products. So that's just me on what needs to happen, and I feel like hopefully this could be some way that, especially for those in Calgary, I hope that they're gonna find a way to get to podcasts. Hopefully they can find a way to get broadcast Calgary Flames games there, and that's just me because I really hope that they get live events as possible there for So that's how it is, and I am so honored to, talk to you about this. But yeah, sports talk has really evolved because we got like so many like platforms that we could choose from, and that's fine because I love to like listening to see what's going on, and whatever it's YouTube, whatever it's podcast, everything live streaming, everything will go well. And I think it will never go away. I'm pretty sure that traditional radio will probably not go away anytime soon, but I feel like we're going to be reaching the era of, traditional sports talk radio for sure. So, yeah. Before we wrap up this video, I want to share you that I got a brand new podcast coming up this Wednesday. It will be unveiling at 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tune in. It is a podcast that I've been worked on, and hopefully you'll get to love it. For those who are in the, doing sports media, doing sports broadcasting, trust me, you will love it there. And I'm really sure that I will get to share some love for you as well. It's going to be on a podcast platform, but it's also going to be on my Voker on Air YouTube channel, which you will get to tune in every week. And I cannot wait for you to share my beautiful project as well. So don't forget, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that, we wanted to say thank you guys so much. It's been a while since I last posted a YouTube channel, and hopefully I can create some more as well. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my Voker on Air YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you back here for another video.